Greetings, folks. Welcome back to the Jason Damico Show, and we got a very special guest coming in from overseas, and she's made some appearances in the States, but really happy to kind of read her quick bio here. She's a chart-topping, multi-award-winning Australian-born singer-songwriter, actress, model, and more recently as a TV host as well. She's one of the most exciting alternative country Americana pop phenomenons to hit the UK country music scene. Worked on a feature film soundtrack, topped the Scottish new music charts, holding the #1 position for over 6 months on Reverb Nation charts, as well as currently on a UK tour, Scandinavian US tour. A whole bunch of great stuff here. CMA Festival in Nashville. And yeah, great stuff here. Please welcome to the show, Zoee.
Hi, that was when you say it all like that, it's kind of low, but sometimes some people are like that.
Everybody always says that. Like, they send me their bio, and it's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have sent you that. You know, it's like a little too egotistical, but that's what a bio is supposed to be. It's supposed to be nice and punchy, to the point, bragging rights, and I think it's beautiful. I think it's great.
Thank you. You read it so well too. I'm so glad to be here with you. This is amazing.
Well, you know, thanks to Instagram and Zoom and the powers that be, which are,
exactly.
You know, it's really a strange time in the world. But what are you going to do? You know, you got to stay positive and keep creating.
I think that's pretty much all we can do, especially the musicians on the front. Like, I imagine it's very much the same for you because you're running this show and everything like that. But maintaining that enthusiasm and that drive and that willpower to want to carry on during the days when, you know, you can't go and play live shows and you can't connect with an audience and you can't see family, you can't see friends, you know, and finding that creativity and that spark inside you to kind of to carry on and know that at some point, you know, you can do this kind of stuff and you can still make things work if you're creative enough to find ways around it. I think, you know, we're lucky to have not the virus, but in this time in history to have it now while we have this technology. You know, take it back, say 40, 50 years ago when we didn't have this, how would the world have been affected by it then, you know, when we couldn't still sit in the living room and have, you know, interviews and you know, watch, you know, all these crazy things online and all that kind of stuff. So right. I think in many ways it's a very sad time. But there's a lot of positive fronts on the front as well, where, you know, families are getting to reconnect and parents are getting to be with their kids again. And, you know, there's so many wonderful things that are coming from this also, while there's a lot of sad things coming from this. So it's a really tricky time. It's a really strange time to be a part of. And I feel like that for a lot of us, you know, this is probably the only time in history we'll ever get to see something like this. And, you know, I think nothing really has happened quite like this before, not that I've ever been a part of anyway. You know, it's kind of like, it's a real turning point in history to be sort of involved in this, especially as a musician.
Yes. Well, I mean, my whole tour schedule got canceled, just like millions of others. So, including yourself, I'm sure, you know, a lot of things fell through. Yeah. So it's
definitely impacting the industry, isn't it? You know, as far as artists go, it was always very hard, I think, to kind of like to put, especially if you're independent, for myself, because I am independent, and you know, you're putting your own tours together and you're reaching out to venues and you're doing things that are international and meeting new people and all that kind of stuff. It's a very hard thing to get involved in and to get to that level anyway. So to have something like this impacting that to the point now where it's literally locking you in your home, and, you know, making an income is no longer something you can do because that's something you do on the road, you know, merchandise and music being sold and stuff like that. None of that's happening anymore. So I think in many senses of the word, it's going to mean that this virus is going to kind of like narrow out the strong-hearted, because, you know, they're going to, so many artists have already said to me, I can't carry on once this is, you know, I can't do it anymore, you know, and that's a really sad thing. But the ones that are really there, you know, not because of the fame and not because of the fortune, that are really in it for the music, I think they're gonna stand up in this, and I think that's really a good thing too.
I think also, and this is a great. I had this topic listed for later, but I think I think you're eloquently putting it. So let's stay on it.
All right.
I think and I think you'll agree with me with this. It really, like, I remember when I was in high school and college and playing shows then,
Yeah.
I realized at that point, oh, I'm wired this way. Like, this is me. I can't do a 9 to 5. Like, it was never even in my mind. And
Yeah.
it's actually kind of scary when you think about it because, um, like, I went to school for business. So, I went to school for something that is great. Like, you can go get a job pretty much immediately at anywhere. It's a great degree to have, like a bachelor's of science of business. But you
Wow.
also realize the other side of it is, yeah, but I kind of hate it because I'm an artist. You know what I mean? So it's like this really weird catch 22. And now with everything going on with COVID, it just kind of amplifies that self-awareness of, like, yeah, this literally blew up everybody's income as far as like in the arts and entertainment and service industries. And at the end of it, there are going to be people that decide they can't do it anymore. And it's like I've thought about that myself, and it's like I thought about it, and I knew that it wasn't even a thought that was going to last for a couple of seconds, because it's like, this is who I am. I don't know what's next, but obviously it's still going to be music and acting and the arts. I don't know how it's going to work, but it's a faith walk.
I totally agree with you. Faith walk is exactly what it is. That's a very, very poetic way to put it. And I think that all of us are going to be finding that, because I know from my own experience, I've done other things in the past. I used to do my own website business and all sorts of other things,
Wow.
but that never, I mean, I did it, but no, it never felt right,
Yeah,
and
it's
yeah,
a
I ran my own,
drag.
yeah, you
Yeah,
run your own hours still, and you think, oh, yeah, I can manage with that. But there's something inside you that still says, this isn't you.
right.
You pick up a guitar or you pick up the piano or something else, and you just think, not quite the piano because that's quite heavy. But yeah, you pick up an instrument and you're like, this is home. This is right. This is what I need. And that's where I think we're going to find a way. The ones that really believe in the music, we're going to find ways of making it and pushing it forward. And I think many times, especially in the day and age we're in now with music, everything's being streamed and everything's being sold for pennies, and
Yep.
that's a really tough time to be an artist. And I think that if this virus does anything positive, it's going to help narrow out all of that and show that music does have value, because we can't constantly create and expect to be able to create really good things and just give it away. And
Right.
that's, I think, the hardest thing for an artist to have to try and face. They've still got bills to pay, and they've still got, how many gigs have you seen where young independent artists get there and they say, oh, can you pay me anything? And they go, yeah, well, we'll give you some exposure. It's like, well, that's sort of like,
Yeah.
I'll
Or you
pay
have
the
to
rent.
pay to play, which is very common if you want those prime time slots. And it's been that way for 60, 70 years, but
Yeah.
And this is the whole reason why I started the show in 2019, was because, to just give a lot of, and I've had sign artists on as well. We have everybody on.
Yeah.
But it's just to give artists a platform to talk about themselves and just bring the community together, because I've felt very fragmented in the last couple of years, especially with all the streaming, and there's so much noise out there. And the sad thing is like, yeah, it's noise, but it's somebody else's soul out there putting out music, or 1,000 or 1,000,000 souls out there putting out music just as passionately and heartfelt as me.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a you can either go competitive or collaborative, and it's very easy to go competitive.
Mm.
It's a narrow road to try and go collaborative, and this show was kind of why I did that, was to try and just bring people together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's a very beautiful thing what you just said too, and the heart is involved in the show, and that's where true artistic creation comes from. There's that balance, and you can feel that when you can. I mean, I feel like that is exactly the way I am too. You're right.
Yeah.
If it's not competitive, it's collaborative. And so many artists that I've met are down the road, well, if you're like doing your thing, I'll do my thing, and don't you come into my area because you're doing
Yeah.
that, and I just don't want to mix. And that's a really especially if you're an artist that's sort of not from the country. Like for me, for example, being Australian, coming into the UK and, you know, building a network of people here and fans and touring, and you're then moving and doing stuff in the States and, you know, doing stuff in Sweden and being independent while doing all of that. That's been a lot of the time quite challenging because of, you know, frankly, there's a lot of people, as you say, that are quite competitive. And I'm all about collaboration. You know, if I'm doing something and I think others can be involved in it, I think it's a great thing for people just to, I mean, that's what music is. Music came about where people were sitting around and that was, you know, making sounds together, and that was connecting, and there was that vibration, you know, campfire and all that kind of stuff, you know, even right back to the caveman days where it was, you know, drums and stuff like that. And that's what music started out as. And I think that people have forgotten that, and it's become somewhat like really just it's become almost, I don't know, it's just too competitive. And I think that's where the connection to music.
Well, and you've been to Nashville multiple times. You know how it is. It's all about who you know, and that stems. And I, being an actor, for like literally 2 decades now. It's just kind of weird saying that in my mid-20s because I've literally been doing it that long.
That is amazing. That is really
you learn at an early age. It's like, go, you know, don't be a dumbass. Like, you know, be friends with everybody. Never say anything bad about anybody. And I'm still I will always be guilty of that to a certain degree. You know, we're all human, but it's like always just try to be friends with as many people as possible. Don't have any enemies. It's weird because some personalities can't do that, but they still excel in this business because they're just able to like push through, like literally push through the masses. Whereas me, like, I'm kind of a nice guy. Unless you really like piss me off, then it's not good. But 99% of the time, like, I'm a nice guy, and I feel like it kind of hurts me at the end of the day because there's people that I know that just like, boom, like just straight up to the top of the charts, like just straight up opening acts at really good venues, and you meet them in person. It's like, oh, okay, well, I can see why. Like they won't take no for an answer. They'll go to the ends of the earth to make it happen. I don't know if you came across that in, anywhere. I mean, I'm not going to single out Nashville, but Nashville is, yes, it's a community for sure. But like any major city, there's always going to be those hubs of, you know, oh, this is my territory. Oh, this is my territory type of reality.
I think, exactly. I mean, I'm lucky on that front, I guess, because I'm in the same area as you. I'm always the nice guy. And I think that, like, that is true. And I definitely resonate with you.
That's why we get along well, you know?
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Everybody else is just flying by. We're just sitting here having like great conversation and probably playing great music, you know?
Right.
But, you know, I think that's where, I mean, maybe there's even a collaboration there at some point for you and I to work on.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be cool.
We'll talk about it later.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
For everybody watching, you can, hold on to that.
Hold us to it.
But I think that I've been lucky in many senses of the word for having, collided with people that are like that are sort of like go-getters, and they're they don't take no for an answer, and they can be quite brutal in being that way. And sort of I'll like feel their brush as they go by, be like, well, it was nice seeing you kind of thing. But it doesn't rub on me too well because I'm kind of like, I am always a nice guy, but I've been lucky because I haven't had too many experiences where that's been a bad thing, and I'm lucky too because not only do I have myself involved in the music, but I also have my band, and my band is my family. So my dad is my lead guitar player. My brother is my drummer. My littlest brother, he's like my bass player, sometimes keyboard, kind of like, crossover.
It's like Jessica Lynn over there.
Actually, I bumped into her like last year. She was like the nicest person in the whole world.
We had Jessica on. I shot hers up in New York when I was up there in February before all this stuff happened. Yeah, I'll send you the link. It was a good time chatting with her.
Like we bumped into each other because I do TV hosting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I did an interview with her while she was over here in the UK, and I'm like, I walked into the funny story. I walked into the venue where we're going to do the interview, and we just messaged briefly and just said, this is where we'll meet. Right. And she's like, no worries. She's the nicest person ever.
Yep.
And I didn't know that her family was in her band. And so I'm like, okay, well, I've got my family with me because they're my team, they're my band, they're my camera crew when I'm doing interviews and stuff. So I go in and I'm there and I walk out and I meet her and she's at the door. She's like, oh, you know, hey, like, and I'm like, g'day. And she walks in and as I'm walking in with her, I'm like, I hope you don't mind, but I've brought my family, you know, they're my camera crew and everything like that. And she goes, oh, like, no way. She's like, I brought my family, you know, and in walks her parents. And we're just like all sitting there just going, how does this even happen? Like, you don't meet family bands very often. And we just hit it off so incredibly well. The whole family, like families, I should say, we just hit it off and we talked about music and we played music to get, like, pulled the guitars out. We just, after the interview and everything was over, we just sat there and jammed out. And then she's like, you got to come to the show tonight. And I'm like, it's on the other side, like, it's in Glasgow, we're in Edinburgh. She's like, please, can you come? I'm like, I'd love to. So we went out to the show, and next thing I know, you know, we're down there cheering her on, and she's just kicking tail. And she's like, for the next song, I want to bring up my friend Zoe. And so I was like, wow, I'm not dressed for being on stage. You know, I haven't warmed up, nothing like that. And she's dragged me up on stage, and we've done Dolly Parton together. And we're just like, her family are the greatest people ever. Her husband's so sweet, she's so sweet. They're brilliant people, and there's the real. I mean, there's that connection was just talking about. You know, it's not competitive. It's just love and community and connection and, you know, collaboration. That's you can't ask for anything better than that when it comes to music, because that's what music's about. That's the way I am with my family. You know,
right?
And that's what it's about.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's a great story. That's awesome.
It's so weird that you just said all that.
Well, I saw the mutual connection on Insta because I think I don't know how we got connected. I don't remember how.
I don't know exactly. You come up as a suggestion somewhere. I don't know where it happened, but
I think it was through Tiffany Ashton.
It may have been. Yes, she's amazing.
Yeah, I haven't seen Tiffany since the Carolina Music Awards.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. It's been a few years now. But
I heard she came.
She's doing better. Yeah.
Is she?
That at least as far as I know, because she did send. When I made that post, she hit me back and she was saying that I probably should check up on her. It's been a couple of weeks, but at that point she was on the turnaround. I don't know if it was ever confirmed whether she had COVID or not.
Okay, fingers crossed she didn't. She's like so nice.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. They're good people. Her and her mom. I haven't seen them in a couple of years, but they're awesome.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, this virus is a little bit scary from, you know, so many people that we've lost this year, from John Prine right through to Kenny and everybody, you know, it's just, and then the virus on top of it, you know, it's like, I don't know, 2020 can kind of like, I think we should just skip 2020 and just go straight to 2021.
Right.
It's I mean, when I found out that those artists, because those artists, like those guys I grew up with, and I was lucky to have really, really good, you know, roots in music from my parents. They kind of like had so many incredible selections of styles and genres and records. I would just go through their collection and just find stuff and just borrow it. And I remember vividly never giving it back. It was like a long-term borrow. Like, you know, those borrows where you don't really ask, you just kind of borrow for a really long time and hope they don't ever notice it's missing. It's one of those.
Right.
But no, they had incredible, you know, collection of music. And I grew up listening to people like Kenny Rogers and John Prine and so many crazy, crazy talented people. And to think that, you know, we're losing those guys and those incredible legends of music. I don't know how to handle that. And I think many people are on that front with me. You know, it's heartbreaking to think that legacy is coming to an end. You know.
Yeah.
And it's a bit tragic.
The music is eternal, which is great. Well, as long as existence is existence.
I love that. Existence is existence.
As long as existence is existence.
I feel like it's an album title right there.
Yeah, perhaps. Go ahead and steal it. I don't know if I can do anything with that.
I tell you what, I think between like either me or Pink Floyd maybe could do something with that.
Yeah.
Wow, I love that. That is great. Existence.
I don't even know where I was going with that, but let's get into you and a little bit about you know your beginning stages. You said some influences there. I was just gonna say, like, if you could just wrap in about a minute or two
Hmm.
how you got into music? Like, how did it start for you?
Since I was like knee high. No, since probably younger than that actually, because mum and dad tell me stories of when I was a baby. Like when mum was pregnant with me, they would like get earphones and music and like just play it to me in mum's belly, and all these different sounds and all these different artists and stuff like that. And the weird part is that I've gravitated towards those artists as I've got older and older and older,
Right.
which is really crazy. So all the stuff from the 70s and 80s and the 60s even, I love, like, from John Prine right through to Chris Christopherson, and then even hard rock and roll and like blues and BB King and Steve Earle, like so many crazy talented artists.
Nice.
I just like, wow. So Loretta, it's so many people, and getting to grow up on that kind of music, I think, especially, I was only talking about this the other day, actually, having heritage and, like roots in Australia where everything's very kind of grounded, and being raised on that kind of music as well. There was a real sense of connection. And, it's so funny, actually, because I have, I was talking about this the other day, I have people that see me on stage because I perform barefoot most of the time. And people get there and they're like, that's like, why do you do that? Like, well, don't you have shoes? I'm like, yeah, of course I have shoes. I just prefer not to wear them. They're like, why? And I'm, well, like, is it a trend or something? And I'm like, no. Like, back in Australia, that's like how I used to be. I was out motorbike riding or fishing and just being on the countryside and by the water. And, it was always barefoot. It was just comfy that way.
The outback.
In the outback. Well, I was actually by the coast a lot of the time, but exactly. We did a lot of stuff in the outback. And so, yeah, I mean, getting to have that kind of roots and heritage, it was like an incredible way to grow up and to get to experience life and sort of become grounded, especially not only leaving that life, but bringing that with me, with the family as well, like that hasn't left me. And so I guess the music has always been, mum and dad have always played music in the house, and whenever we've been anywhere, we've always done a lot of traveling and stuff. And whenever we've gone anywhere, there's always been some form of music that's signaturized somewhere or some place or something that's happened.
Right.
And, play a song and it takes you straight back to that's that moment. And I love that about music. But music has been right from the get-go. I remember it being 4 years old, and one of the tapes that I used to borrow from mum and dad was Rod Stewart, and I would go and play that like it was my lullaby music. At 4 years old, I knew all the words and I could sing it like backwards almost. That sounded really weird too. It was like but no,
satanic messages and Rod Stewart backwards,
Yeah. You know what I mean though, like I was a super fan and I haven't ever lost that. But music like from that time is what my history is. Modern music, cool. I listen to a little bit of that now, and there's a lot of new stuff that's coming out that's catchy and really cool. But for me, the heritage and the roots always go back to that time. Air Supply and Creedence and like Smokey and so many Susie Quattro, and like it's just such an incredible sort of like blend. It doesn't sort of fit in one box either. It's like right across the board. Meatloaf even, love it. It's great.
A lot of similar influences.
Really?
Yeah. Classic rock, blues. I'm a metalhead to a certain degree. I probably don't look like it, but
Oh no, I can tell. The hair's kind of like gives it away a little bit. I can imagine it like all up and spiked and stuff like that,
do I have a picture for you?
Story
you're
time.
gonna get a good kick out of it. Remind me to send that to you when we're off.
Okay, definitely. Yes.
Walk me through your. So I took a listen to Nashville this time, just a little bit longer. Great songs. Really love them, and I wanted to get a sense of your creative process and maybe how those songs came about. How do you stay inspired? What's your creative process? Like how does that work for you?
Good question. Really, really good question. I think that in many senses of the word, bringing music, I don't know. I mean, I guess you are very similar thinking in this way of music. Music used to be something where there was this real connection. There was stories, there was messages, there was hidden meanings. There was things like Pink Floyd and all the stories and all the meanings and stuff that was in that. And there was real, like it was a real it was a mystery. A lot of the time things, you know, they kind of like, they didn't make sense to you straight away. And then, you know, 3-4 years down the track, you'd be like, that song, that means this, you know, and like there's this great epiphany of thought and idea of what it is. And you go, wow, like how clever was that? Music doesn't do that to me much anymore because something happened, something changed. And it's not a bad thing. I think, you know, music is always about evolving and moving forward. But I think that for me, especially, I'm very much in that place where music should mean something, and it should have those messages, and it should have things in it where it can help inspire people and it can help change people's lives. And I think a lot of my stuff, my stuff personally is very across the genre as well. You know, it's not just straight country music. You know, I play country, but I also do rock and roll. I also do classical. I also do, you know, contemporary and a bit of blues here and there, and, you know, all sorts of different things. But when it comes to the, you know, writing process and sort of how I started, it's usually something, you know, from a personal place. But I think the general overall sense is to bring music back to what it was, where it was something to really aspire to and something that really gave you some kind of enlightenment and some kind of hope. Because I think that music should be about that. You know, it's great to have a fun song and it's great to have just a song that feels good and it's just a good bop. But I think when you get down to the core of, you know, the basis of your music, I think that for me at least, it's got to be something that's really inspiring and helping others, because people need that. That's what music is about. It's about connecting to people. It's about giving them something. And you know, all the great music used to give you something. And the great music now still does that. But I think that when it comes to writing and that sort of process, you know, it can be on a guitar, it can be on a ukulele, sometimes on the keys, sometimes on the drums. Depends on how I'm feeling. If I'm feeling really, you know, like violent someday, I might just jump on the drums and pretend I know what I'm doing. Usually that doesn't turn out that great. But, you know, it's just about, I think, usually I'm in a happy place when I'm writing music, because if you know, sad songs are good, and they can be very beautiful and creative, like some, you know, but I usually, for example, this time you said you heard that earlier, right?
Yeah.
That song, I guess, comes off as kind of like a sad song, but when I was writing it, I was kind of on the edge of coming back from a sad place where I was feeling like you've got a second chance. You can climb back up when you're falling back down. And I think that that's a, you know, constantly giving people that feeling that you can do this. It's not going to, you know, this isn't the end of the world. You can get back up and it's going to be okay. And you need to keep on climbing, and don't forget that you're going to get the highs, you're going to get the lows. It's going to just come in absolute waves, and you just need to be ready for that. And don't forget that you can always be a better version of yourself. That's another thing that I'm a very, very strong believer in, you know, always better yourself. So
and 100%. And it's an extremely relatable lyric. I had that written down for that song. I was just like, great video, great song, relatable lyric. You know, and let's talk about Nashville real quick, because you were, if I wrote this down correctly, donation after, or for the first 3 months of purchasing to the tornado relief in Nashville. If you could just elaborate a little bit more on that.
So the song Nashville came out the week of the tornado. So for anybody that's watching, there was this massive tornado that blew through Nashville and just tore everything apart. And so much of downtown was destroyed. And I'd only just been in Nashville I was in there in June, I should say, for CMA Fest. And, you know, I got to hang out with people and catch up and play and do all that kind of fun stuff. And to come back to the UK and, like, you know, 6-7 months later, a little bit longer than that, to find out that everything has just been completely blown away and destroyed, I was so heartbroken. And, of course, that same week, my song all about Nashville and how much I love the city and the people and, you know, that sense of community where people come together because they love to be, you know, creative, and they love to collaborate. And that's what Nashville is in a lot of senses to me. It's a community of people that love music, and they love to kind of like mostly help each other. And that's a beautiful thing. And so I just finished writing this song and getting it ready, and it was set to release that week, only a couple of days after the tornado. So when I found out that the tornado had hit and everything that had gone on, the fact that I couldn't be there to do anything to help out in person, I couldn't just fly over. So the next best thing I could do was to donate the proceeds of the song to try and help everybody there. So for the first 3 months of the release, everything going from that is gone to the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee to try and help out everybody that's been affected. So yeah.
Awesome. And send me the link to that, and we'll make sure it's in the description box.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll do that. Absolutely.
I want to.
No, I mean, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that city is just somewhere else. It's a brilliant place to be as a musician. And whenever I'm there, it always just feels super homely. It's great. It was actually one of the first places I ever got to play. It was the first place I ever got to play, actually.
Wow.
Bobby's Idle Hour, one tiny little venue in the middle of Music Road that doesn't exist anymore, which is kind of sad. So, bit of history there.
I saw when I was going through your Instagram, I saw these like perfect white dogs. Now I don't know if they're yours, but like what is going on there? Because they are like perfect.
So they're the big white wolves. We have 2 Huskies, and they are mother and son, and they've both got bright blue eyes, and they're both pure white, which is the rarest color the Huskies come in. And Tachi, who's the big boy, he's like my songwriting buddy, and he comes around with me everywhere. He comes up on stage, he does everything. And his mum, China, she just kind of like toddles along and just hangs about. But they're just absolute music, loving creatures. They're just the best partners you can have.
They are incredible. Like I was like looking at, there was this video of you by a lake or something, and they just show up out of nowhere. I was like, man, God, these dogs are perfect. Like they're just perfect.
They are so hard to leave behind when it comes to time to tour. Like they are just, when I miss them so much, I always leave them with a friend, and they kind of like, Tachi, you want to come here for a second? Say hi. I don't know if you'll get to see him or not. I'll try and show you him. Tachi, come here. Tachi, come here. Come here.
Oh my God!
Can you see him?
So beautiful. Oh,
he's a big teddy bear.
I can't pet him. Oh man.
They're just, I don't know, and they're like big, teddy bears, especially Tachi. He's just like to just cuddle and just be the cutest, biggest, fluffiest teddy bear you can possibly think of. And whenever I'm sitting and writing a song, I'll have the guitar, and next thing I know, he'll be just like plonked up against me, like, what are you doing? So yeah, brilliant songwriting.
A good friend of mine in the States. I'll send you a link. His dogs aren't in the video, but he's eclectic, hilarious, like just off the wall, funny, intelligent guy, like really good friend of mine. He used to I don't know if he bred Huskies, but he trained them for like 10 years, and he's got 4 Huskies.
Oh wow.
So yeah, it's just like the Husky bond is apparently like once you get one, you're like you can't get any other brand. Or
I can't get any other brand.
Any other breed.
No, there's no other model like them, is there?
No other.
Like having a Mercedes, that's it. You're done for. No, you're absolutely right, and most people don't know that. Like, they don't bark. They are really clean. They're almost like having a cat, and their sense of intelligence is like having about a 7-year-old kid in the house. Like, and I know that everybody says, "Oh, my dog's super smart," but the Husky breed in general, man, they are just like unbelievable. They're like crossed with a kid, crossed with a seal, crossed with like, I don't know. It's really unbelievable. They've got such an incredible sense of smell. They can smell up to, I think the stats, I read this somewhere actually, they can smell, I think it's 1 kilometer away, a meter under the ice. If there's anything like a dead seal or something under the ice, they actually proved that they can do it 1 kilometer away and like a meter under solid ice, which is insane. So if you ever think that you can get away with having like a quick chocolate or anything that rattles or anything like that, you're done for. They know like that.
Wow.
Especially with the blue eyes, if they come up to you and they just stare at you, you cave. I can't handle it. They get me every single time, and they know it.
Yeah, he was telling me about that. Like they'll just come and they'll just give you this look and like tilt the head and just like, okay, where's my chicken?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like literally, that's what he. Yeah, he says it on the interview somewhere in the interview, and I was like, man, that's crazy.
It's so true though. They are brilliant animal. And such incredible companions. Like once they bond with you, that's it.
Yeah.
They're with you for life, which is what he's like. Big Tashi, he follows the family around everywhere, and he's especially a man's dog. But whenever I'm doing music or something like that, he's usually like either around my feet or hanging about. I'm always putting things up on my Instagrams and stories and stuff like that of him just hanging out with me. But yeah, I'm really glad that you noticed Tashi.
That's great.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Well, before we start wrapping up,
Yeah.
you still down to play something?
Yeah, of course. What do you want to hear? You want to hear Nashville?
What I mean, your choice. Whatever you're in the mood for.
Okay. Well, we can give Nashville a run if you like. I can give that a
and by the way, I love that. Well, I'm not going to give it away, but I love the riff. We'll talk about it when you're done. But
let's try and make sure we don't like stuff it up. Actually, before I do it, you might notice on the record too, actually, that there's a like a didgeridoo sound at the beginning of the song. Mm-hmm. That's actually my brother doing that. For those of you who don't know, if you haven't heard the song, cool. Go and check it out. But he does didgeridoo, and it's so cool because he does a didgeridoo without a didgeridoo. He can do it with just his voice box, which is the most unique. He's got this like almost like a grinding kind of like rumble sound. I don't know how he does it actually, but on stage it's like the coolest thing ever. And people would just come up to him afterwards like, "Where was the didgeridoo? You know, was it a sample or like how did you do that? We didn't even see didgeridoo." And he just sort of like looks at him and laughs. And he's like, "No, it was just me." And they're like, "But you didn't even have a didgeridoo. You was just on the drums." Like, wow. And he just stands there and looks at him and he just does it. And they're just like, how are you doing that? And I'm like that with him too. I have no idea exactly how he's doing it, but we had to put that on the record and it was the coolest thing ever. It's sort of like a little bit of Australian country music combined with Nashville and like the cultures just coming together, sister cities and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's pretty neat. But we can give it a run.
Yeah, let's go for it.
It comes across all right. Can you feel the times passing through the dark night, taking on the baby's on losing road? I can feel the drum dancing on the river, calling in the name, here's our call. When I was younger, I traveled from the Rockies down to Mexico. I'd be riding through the back door, you playing on the radio, and I never felt so good. Until I heard that song when the stars sing on, I'm back where I was. So I guess I'm going to Nashville, Tennessee, where music sounds like home to me. Yeah, I guess I'm going to Nashville, Tennessee, where the music sounds like home to me. Took a road trip down to Charlotte, drove a NASCAR and played in love with the sound of those engines rolling down the speedway, tearing it up, and I never felt so good. Until I heard that song with a start to say, "Oh, I'm back where I was before." So I guess I'm going to Nashville, Tennessee, where it sounds like home to me. Yeah, I guess I'm going to Nashville, Tennessee, where music sounds like home to me. Nashville, Tennessee,
Nice.
Thank you.
I love that riff. It's so bluesy. It's great.
So there's like all those different genres that blend together in my style, like
that's
crazy blend of sounds. Like Town, for example, that was a film soundtrack that I was fortunate enough to do back in 2018. And that was on the contemporary, like, soundtrack kind of thing. It was more down the road of like people compared it with Shallow and Celine Dion's Ashes as well. Like, it was so different, and it was for a UK film. Actually, it was called 19 Willow Place, but they asked me to do the film soundtrack, and they was like, well, we want something that's really, it's kind of a haunting kind of a film, and we want something that's really down that road. And so I went to work, and that there again is a completely different genre, and that did so many other incredible things, and it went to the charts and everything. It was amazing. But there's so many different genres and stuff that I kind of dabble in, and I guess that comes out in everything, like what you just mentioned with the beginning of that song. It's very bluesy.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. And I'm a sucker for riffs, so anything that's got a good riff in it, I'm like a moth to the flame. So as we wrap up, and by the way, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate this.
Cool. Thanks for having me. It's been really fun.
Sure. I've got a quick little thing that we do where I just say a word that's industry related, and you just say a word back, and there's no right or wrong answer, just like really quick, like just fire burst.
All right.
Vocal mic.
Germs.
Electric guitar.
Fun.
Acoustic.
Mellow.
Yeah. Bass.
Fun. I think that's I play a bit of bass, so that's kind of like I get a big bass face going and everything like that.
Yeah, the bass face.
A big chicken neck and everything. Yeah. So goofy.
The chicken neck. I haven't heard that one before. That's good. I like that. Piano.
Ooh, delicate.
For me, it's exact opposite. I'm like just hammering, like playing blues scales, just punching the keyboard.
Up there, like really getting into it. I love that.
Drums.
Excitement.
Yes, always.
Yes, absolutely. Get that foot bass going, and I'm run like I'm just going crazy.
Studio.
What word comes with studio? So many words come with studio. I like being in the studio. Creativity.
Yeah, that's perfect. Live.
The best feeling ever. I know that's 3 words, but best.
That's great. That's great. No, it's perfect. Australia.
Home.
UK.
Sunshine. Rain. That's a really bad answer. There are so many great things for the UK, but the first thing I think of is rain. Incredible people is what I think.
Yeah. United States.
More incredible people.
It's good
Second
to hear.
home. Yeah.
Nashville.
Second home.
Right.
I said that about the States, so that's kind of like a cross between.
But
music.
it's all relative.
Music.
Country.
Horses. You mean the genre or the actual countryside?
I mean, either way, the word itself,
Homely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. One last one for you. Pizza.
Excellent on movie night. Again, that's more than one worded answer, but
No, it works.
That's a really good one. I like that.
One final question for you, and I ask everybody this at the end. If you could go back to your 15-year-old self, knowing what you know now, what would you tell her?
Come up with better answers for these questions. No, I probably would say to her, you just keep on keeping on. Like, don't get down by the rough times. I think that's really the best thing, because it will eventually all start to pay off. And all the failures and they're just trials of passage. And getting to make music that inspires others, and getting to help be creative and sharing enlightenment with people, and helping to give others hope, that there is what it's all about. And I think that if you get lost on the way, you need to be reminded that great music is what it's all about, and you can get through the storms if that's if you just keep that in the forefront of your mind, you'll always get through it.
That's great.
And also about
we've got your information in the description box below or to the sides, wherever they're at. Do you have any last words? This was great. Thanks so much.
Not at all. Thanks for having me. And I really felt like this has been an awesome, we've actually got to know each other as well as everybody else getting to know both of us at the same time. So it's been really super productive. This is exactly what I was talking about with the collaborating. This is great.
For sure.
And we have to do some music at some point, somewhere.
Absolutely. Let's talk about it later this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you again so much for having me on. And everybody who's listening, and just everybody be safe in these crazy, crazy times. And don't forget that, music is always going to be there, and it's always the one thing that gets us through everything.
100%. Well, you guys have been watching and listening to the Jason Damico Show. Remember to subscribe to the channel, or subscribe to Spotify, iTunes, iHeart, wherever you're at. Check out Zoe's links in the description box below or to the sides, and we will see you all in the next one. Peace.
Thanks, guys. See you later.